Mr. President, Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to address to you today on the importance of phonetics in teaching English pronunciation. Before I start, I would like to thank Professor Masaki Tsuzuki, President of the English Phonetic Society of Japan and its members, for inviting me to give a talk at the first seminar of the EPSJ.
Now, let me start by quoting a very interesting joke about Japanese. I call it Phonetic Joke about Japanese. I saw this story in a book titled Dirty Jokes. Dirty Jokes. It's in series, you see. And as I travel around the world, I bought a copy of this book in an airport, I forget where. And there are many interesting items there. Some not very clean stories, but this one was included there. It was Phonetic Joke. It's about Japanese speakers' failure to distinguish two liquid consonants R and L, and the story goes like this. A Japanese American was a long-time customer at his Greek restaurant because he discovered that the Greek restaurant people, made especially tasty fried rice, you see. Each evening he did come in, he would order, the Japanese American, he would order fried lice. This always caused the Greek restaurant owner to nearly roll on the floor with laughter. Sometimes he had 2 or 3 friends stand nearby just to hear the Japanese customer order his fried lice. Eventually, the customer decided to teach them a lesson. He took a special diction lesson. It's a kind of phonetic lesson, see? To be able to say fried rice correctly instead of fried lice. Do you know what it means, fried lice? The next time he went to the restaurant, he said very plainly, and correctly of course, fried rice please. He ordered fried rice correctly. Now, unable to believe his ears, the Greek restaurant owner said, he's very surprised, you see, "Sir, would you repeat that?" Whereupon the Japanese American replied, "You heard what I said, you fucking gleek." Now, he returned to his original sort of habit, you see, although he pronounced fried rice correctly, putting an extra L in the word fucking. So I have no idea whether this is a true story or invented one by somebody. But it certainly is a highly plausible story, considering the usual Japanese practice, phonetic practice, with R and L. The story also tells us the importance of phonetics in speech correction. That is, what it can do to improve our pronunciation. Now, let me move to the next item. Phonetics is essential in teaching pronunciation. There's no doubt about that. The science of phonetics can play an important role in linguistics, language teaching, speech pathology, music, stage arts, broadcasts, and criminal investigation, etc. Recently, the importance of phonetic science has been even more acutely felt in the fields of signal processing, speech synthesis, and recognition. And I'm happy to say that Japan is one of the leading countries in the world in speech science and technology. I know many professors and scientists, scholars in this field, because I'm also interested in that aspect of phonetics. Today, I would like to limit my talk, however, to the role of phonetics in teaching pronunciation, especially English. Let me quote one or two the well-known phoneticians in the past who expounded the essential nature, the importance of phonetics. Henry Sweet, I'm sure many of you know Henry Sweet, Englishman. In 1908, Henry Sweet, a great British phonetician and the undisputed father of modern phonetics in Europe, made a very impressive remark about the usefulness and advantages of phonetics in his book, The Sounds of English. And this is also included in English phonetic text edited by David Abercrombie of Edinburgh University under the title Advantages of Phonetics. I have this book, published this book in Korea in this format, and the story is in this book. No doubt slightly modified by David Abercrombie when he published this book. I would like to quote some of the important points that Sweet made in his work. That is in the article Advantages of Phonetics. It's, by the way, both in transcription, in transcribed form, and as well as in spelling. See, so I'm using this text in Seoul University for the graduate students as a drill, as a training in pronunciation and also the listening. Now, first, the item he proposed was independence of residence abroad, meaning I'm not going to read all these passages there. It simply means that even if you don't go to England or America to learn English correctly, to train phonetics, the pronunciation, you can do in your own country, you can achieve everything you want in respect of pronunciation. See, if you know the phonetic knowledge, if you know real phonetics, so you don't have to go spending a lot of money abroad to the country whose language you want to pick up. So this is a very important point, I think. 2, independence of native teachers. In Korea and in Japan, I'm sure in many countries, they say to be able to speak good English or good Italian, good Japanese, you need some native teachers. See? Which is, I mean, is truth in some way. But Henry Sweet said, we can dispense with native teachers if you know the phonetic knowledge, real phonetic knowledge, and training yourself. And I entirely agree with him. Now, there are point 3, point 4, and point 5. Let's move to point 5. Literary and aesthetic use. And this is the passage I like very much in my phonetics teaching and research. Number 5, literary and aesthetic use. Phonetics alone can breathe life into the dead mass of letters which constitute a written language. It's a question of written language and spoken language. Written language like that, the letters on the paper, there's no life there. It's a dead language. Phonetics alone, that is voice and its attributes, when you put them into this dead message, written language, you get the real living language. That's what what he means to say. It alone can bring the rustic dialogues of our novels before every intelligent reader as living realities, and make us realize the living power and beauty of the ancient classical languages in prose and verse. Yes. Number 6, last point. The essential part of grammar, which what is? Phonetics is. Phonetics is not merely an indirect strengthener of grammatical association. It is an essential part of grammar itself, he said. Grammar nowadays is considered a separate sort of, separate kakumon from phonetics. But Henry Sweet said in 1909 that it's closely interlinked element. Phonetics is part of grammar itself, not only attribute or subsidiary to it, but it is a grammar. A knowledge of sentence stress and intonation is not only an essential part of elocution and correct pronunciation, but is also an integral part of the syntax of many languages. He concludes, in short, there is no branch of the study of language which can afford to dispense with phonetics. Without phonetics, you can't do anything about language study or teaching. That's what he tries to get across. There are many other well-known scholars who advocated the importance of phonetics. Just to name a few, the Otto Jespersen of Denmark, one of the founders of International Phonetic Association in 1880s. He also gave an impressive lecture at Columbia University in 1909 on the importance of phonetics. That's the title of his lecture there. Also, I can quote Eugene Ionesco, a well-known novelist, writer. He also touched on the difficulty of learning to pronounce. He said pronunciation is a very difficult thing. It takes years and years, very long time to pick up good pronunciation, he confessed. But he went on and said, as follows. In French, he said, pour apprendre à prononcer, il faut des années et des années. Mais grâce à la science, nous pouvons y parvenir en quelques minutes. Translated in English, it says, it takes years and years, as I said, to learn to pronounce rightly. But thanks to science of phonetics, however, we can do it only in a few minutes. Only in a few minutes we can do what would otherwise take us years and years. So much for the past scholars, the emphasis on the importance of phonetics. So we can conclude that theory of phonetics is essential. We should know something about theory of phonetics before we can actually teach pronunciation to students or improve the pronunciation of ourselves. But to my mind, there's something else. So I said there's no denying that the knowledge of phonetics will be an enormous asset for people learning and teaching pronunciation of foreign language. But here one must bear in mind that we should be equipped with a real and authentic knowledge of phonetics, not a superficial one. Not a superficial one. I know there are many quasi-phoneticians everywhere in the world, wherever we go. In many advanced countries too, there are many so-called phoneticians. But to my surprise, I found that they didn't really know about the world of sounds. They couldn't distinguish sounds themselves. And how can they teach students to pronounce rightly? See? It's a question of the qualification of the professors themselves. So that's what I mean. The real, authentic, solid background of phonetic knowledge, not superficial one. Those who talk about theories of phonetics but who cannot manage to pronounce the speech sounds of a foreign language correctly themselves. This is a great problem everywhere. If they teach wrongly, if they cannot really serve as a model for the students, see, model for the sounds the students are going to pick up. And where would they have to depend, you see? They look to the professors only. So professors and the phoneticians and English teachers in general should be prepared, should do something more about their phonetic knowledge, I think. Theory alone is not enough. That's my theories.